Hello. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Ravi sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. Welcome, everyone, for our 5 days faculty development program on recent trends and development in the field of civil engineering. We welcome our respected expert, Dr. S.M. Yadav sir, on behalf of Tapi Diploma Engineering College, Surat, and the presentation topic is flood forecasting techniques. Sir is working as a professor in the civil engineering department of SVNIT Surat for 30 years. Sir is also having field experience of 16 months. Sir has completed his BE from BVM Engineering College, Vallabh Anand. ME in Water Resources Engineering from South Gujarat University, Surat, Gujarat, and PhD in Water Resources Engineering from SVNIT Surat. Sir has guided 7 PhD students, 32 PG students, and 3 UG projects. Sir has published 35 articles in international journal, 8 articles in national journal, 60 articles in international conference, and 59 articles in national conference. Sir has written 3 reference books with international publishers. Sir has coordinated 16 workshops and has delivered 45 expert lectures and conducted 5 faculty development programs. Sir has done consultancy for various major projects and project management works. Sir has awarded for 10 best paper publications. Now I request to all the participants to keep your mic and camera off during the session. If you have any questions, then please type into the chat box. Now, without any further ado, I would like to give my warm welcome to Dr. S.M. Yadav sir and turn over the time to sir. Thank you.
Good morning, Pragna ma'am. Thank
Good
you,
morning, sir.
Pragna ma'am and team of Tapi, principal sir, head of the department, faculty members, who has given me opportunity to share what I know a little bit. I hope my voice is clear and it is audible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So today is, I think, third day, no? Third day or fourth day?
Sorry, today second day.
Second day of your faculty development program, training program, and hope you all have enjoyed your yesterday's class. So before I begin, let me tell you that I am not used to give lectures. I always want to interact with the participants and always have interactive sessions. So this session will also be an interactive session. I think you can see my chat messages also, where I wrote good morning to everyone, and there are 35 participants. I hope I will get reply as 35 participants will write good morning, right? Everyone, if you have a chat, you can just type in chat good morning, so that 38 are there now, 39 now, one more has come. So everyone, please type good morning in chat box, so that I can know that yes, you are there and you have spent time for this specific HTTP. Okay. After writing chat good morning in chat, I just wanted to know that guys, what you have seen my title, flood forecasting techniques. Okay. Tell me what's in your mind, what I'm going to talk about, right? Can anybody unmute yourself or and tell me what you think that I'm going to talk about? You can even turn on camera also. Yes, anyone? as my topic title of my presentation is flood forecasting technique, can anybody tell me that what you are what I am going to talk about? Swarupa is writing prediction of floods. Okay, fine. Yeah, prediction of floods, fine, and forecasting of floods. Two things are there, right? Prediction of floods, he is going to see saying at least I want five answer in chat, minimum 5 answers. Then afterwards I will go ahead, right? That hydrograph uses correct. Abdul Rafi is writing. Yeah. Anyone else? Five at least 5 chat answers I need. Maybe about recent technologies of flood techniques to prevent. Correct. Ramya Ravi. Okay, that's good. Three answers I received. I need 2 more answers. Then I will go ahead. Maybe about recent techniques of flood techniques to prevent floods. Okay. Any else? Only 3. Yes. Safety enhancement of people. Abdul Rafi is replying again. Yes. Anybody else? Anybody else? Prevention measures or flood control. Okay. That is Vijaya Patil. And one more answer I need. Then afterwards I will go ahead. One more answer I need. That's four participants have replied. I need one more answer from any of the participant. Accurate methods of prediction, machine learning technique for forecasting. That is Gupta. Shuyog Gupta is writing. Okay, I hope I have not missed anybody in between. Okay, that's good. So I got 5 answers. So I'm happy that at least you started thinking about one of the major issue which is faced by world, not by our country, but this is the issue which is faced by world. And as you know, that the reason for this, can anybody write what is the reason for this? That the happenings or occurring of flood events worldwide increased. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody write me? What are the probable reasons which you can, which may you like to tell? Unpredicted climate change. Yes, Abdul Rafi, you are 100% right. Right. That is unpredicted climate changes. Okay, so that is also correct. Swarupa, that is global warming. That's a part of what we can say the climate change. And because of that, you find that I am turning on my camera because you might be getting glare from the backside. So I am keeping my camera off. Otherwise, I used to keep camera on. Okay, so what has happened that because of climate change, Vijay, that is correct, natural attacks, but these natural attacks were not there earlier. Now why it has increased so much since last I can say 10 to 15 years, and that one of the reason is that of the climate change. And because of climate change, unprecedented rains, right? We know that there is a rainfall, or we call it as a precipitation in a technical language. So that precipitation or rainfall that has increased. Again, when I'm saying increase, somebody of you may say, no, sir, you are not right, because we know that the people of one of the African countries, they are facing severe drought of decade, right? Because of 3 consecutive dry years, people of that particular country, they are facing severe drought also. So this also happens because of the climate change. But as far as we talk about the floods, right, and as far as we talk about the precipitation, what's happening because of climate change? Because of climate change, the short duration intense rainfall. What I mean by saying short duration intense rainfall, that means that within few hours you are receiving a very heavy rainfall in a specific region, which was not before 20 years or before 30 years, right? Can anybody tell me, when I am delivering this lecture right now, Pragna ma'am has asked me to deliver lecture, and you are attending this FDP, and that FDP started on 12th of the June. Can anybody tell me which part of our country is facing severe floods? Which part of our country is facing severe floods? Even Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi yesterday announced that they are monitoring the situation closely. So even PM of nation intervene into this particular event. Naturally, the event may not be the what you can say a small event, but it may be a very damaging or catastrophic event. Yes, Swarupa Sahil, you are writing West Bengal. West Bengal, I think I know if I am correct, but the disaster, right? What we call it is a flash flood that has happened somewhere in our country. Where it has happened, Martin Patel, if you are there, Martin Patel. Martin, say yes, sir. If you don't know the answer, no problem. But at least you say yes, sir, or no, sir. Martin, are you there? Uttarakhand. Rupal Desai is writing Uttarakhand. Rupal, you are yeah, you are close. But the major flash flood has occurred in its neighboring country. What neighboring state? What is that neighboring state? Martin, you are not there. Tahira, are you there? Silva Priya, Swarupa again writing Orissa. No, it's not correct. Mr. Dhaval, भाई ये लोग सब कहाँ है? ताहिरा नहीं है, मार्टिन नहीं है, धवल नहीं है. अगर आप even if you reply wrong, no, I am not going to punish you, right? I will not say that you leave this particular lecture. Yes, anyone who knows, please unmute. Yeah, this Sayuga Gupta has wrote correctly. That is Himachal Pradesh, right? And I'm trying to show you video. Probably there won't be any voice in it. I don't know if you can hear the audio also, then it's good. But if you don't, what we can say, able to hear the audio, don't worry, right? So I'm sharing my screen. I think my screen is visible. Is it? Hello, my screen
No,
is
sir.
visible.
Hello, sir.
Ah,
Sir, your screen is not visible.
1 minute.
Okay,
It will be 1 minute. Let me put the video on my screen so that you can see it. Just a minute. Screen. Let me see how I can do that. Okay, this is my screen. This I have to make large. Screen. Yes, now it is visible. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible. Your video is visible.
Okay. All of you, please pay attention to this video,
yes,
because
sir.
I may ask you few questions after this video get over.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, so guys, I hope you have watched this video. I have few questions for you. Whether these flood, right, flash flood of Himachal Pradesh, whether it has been predicted and warning has been issued or not. If you can reply by unmuting yourself, that's fine. Otherwise, you can type in chat. My first question is whether the warning was issued for this flash flood or not.
Yes, sir. IMD has given intimation.
Correct. Dr. Shailesh, you are 100% right. The Indian Meteorological Department has given warning that in next 24 hours, they will there may be heavy downpour, heavy rainfall in this area, and the warning has been already issued. I do not know how many of you are aware that right now, whatever city you are, if you wanted to see what is the forecast for your city, that is available on Indian Meteorological Department website, IMD website, not only for today, but tomorrow and day after tomorrow. For next 2 to 3 days ahead, they are doing forecasting. So once you get the time, you do visit the IMD website and check. There are so many parameters available now. It is not like what we can say earlier times that we don't get warning or we don't know what will be the weather of my city or our cities. But nowadays it is possible to see what will be my weather for today. Right, and the accuracy of this weather forecast by IMD is claimed up to 80 to 85%. Still we are improving. But for this specific event, the IMD has forecasted well in advance that there will be heavy rainfall in this area and that may lead into floods. Okay, that is number one. The question number two is that you have seen in the beginning of the video. Okay, beginning of the video, the car was drawn into the water. Will you please tell me which city it was, which city street it was? Which city street it was?
Himachal Pradesh.
Himachal, no, I am asking name, Bhuvan. I am asking name of the city. Yes, correct. Ravi Patel writing Dharamshala. Ritesh Kumar has also wrote Dharamshala. Yes, it is correct. Right? This happened in case of Dharamshala. Okay. Not only that, it happened in the Dharamshala, but the beauty. You just see the beauty, or you can see the encroachment of people. Right? What they have done. Can you imagine? The water which is rushing with a velocity of 1.5 meter per second in your street. Is it possible? It is only possible if you come across encroachment in the path of river, nalas or stream. Right, sometimes it feels that you also listen that so and so society is constructed by blocking the stream or by converting or encroaching into the bed of the river or encroaching into the bed of the specific nala. Right, what happens, for years you will not find any sort of problem, but when such type of an event occurs, like which happened in Himachal Pradesh, where there was a very heavy rainfall, what will happen? If you have encroached the river bed or if you have encroached the nalas, water will start flowing through it because it's the original path of that stream and that you have blocked. Right, that path has been blocked by you, and that is the reason why you have observed in streets such type of gushing floods or such type of a water which is moving with velocity of around 1.5 meter to 2 meter per second in these streets, and the cars are drawn. So is it the fault of what we can say nature that the water is flowing through the street? Can anybody write in the chat? Is it a fault of nature that water is flowing through streets or water is striking the houses which are on a bank of that particular stream or river? Yes, only two no. Out of 39 or 40, now 59 participants, hardly I get 5 answers as no. right? That is hardly how much percentage? I think 10% of all the participants who are attending this particular lecture. And at least I should get 30-35 no's, right? So that I understand that, yeah, all the participants are involved what I'm talking about, right? Yes, Ritesh Kumar, it is a fault of people who live in that area, or it's a encroachment. What we call it is in a technical term, that is the encroachment of people in the natural pathways of the, what you can say, river or natural pathway of the stream. And then we what we can say, blame authority, or we blame engineers, or we blame administrator, इसने ऐसा नहीं किया, इसने वैसा नहीं किया. Believe me, right, that all 60 participants, when you will be working in the field or wherever you will be work for career, or you are working in the in right now also, today's lecture that will definitely take message, will give you message, and you may like to spread it to people, that never ever encroach the natural streams. Let it be small nalas, let it be small stream, let it be a pond in a village, let it be a pond in case of your area, city area. And if you'll be doing this, what will be happening? Right? What will be happening? Such type of events, when there will be heavy downpour, heavy rainfall, right? Almost all incidences of past you check, like the floods in 2015 in Chennai floods, right? They have constructed the aerodrome, right, where the 2 or 3 streams were flowing through that particular area, and that they have blocked. And because of that, you might have seen the picture at the in case of 2015, or you can Google it out, 2015 Chennai flood, and you will see the aeroplanes are just what they are doing. They are on the that is runway, and on that runway or on the airport, they are underwater, and the airport remain closed for 3 days or 4 days. So, sir, is not due to urbanization, asphalt roads. So he says that Abdul Rafi is saying that it is not due to urbanization, but asphalt road. Abdul, are you talking about Himachal floods? Abdul, are you talking about Himachal floods? Oh, general you are talking about. Okay, so this only means I am not able. If you can unmute yourself and interact, that will be fine. Abdul, your mic is muted. Unmute your mic.
I am talking about Dharmashala only, sir.
Dharamshala only. Okay. So can you throw some light that how this has happened?
No, I have not seen Dharmashala, but I am thinking that because of the heavy what is called as a
Rainfall,
impervious roads construction.
Okay.
Impervious road construction, is the runoff becomes more or something like that? I am asking.
Oh, no. Abdul, partially you are correct. What I was thinking that because of construction of road, the natural waterway has blocked, and because of that, this has resulted. That may be the reason. That's what I am saying. That if you are not allowing the water to flow as per its own path, what will happen? As per its natural path, what will happen? It will lead. Even though you block it, even though you fill it, but in case of such extreme events, it may take the same path. Okay, the reasons for Dharamshala floods may be many, right? We cannot say right now without studying it that this was the reason or that was the reason. But one thing is very much sure, that the Dharamshala floods, which has resulted because of heavy downpour, right? And the warning was issued, and that was good, at least that the warning was issued, and because of that, some people who may be staying nearby the streams might have shifted by the administration, and that way they have saved damages to, what you can say, the properties that may not be saved because of, you see that gushing water and its velocity and the damaging force the water is having, that might have damaged roads, that might have damaged houses, that might have damaged the some part of roads, etc. But definitely that because of warning, loss of life probably might have saved. It is too early to say that. I have to read that whether anyone has lost their life or not. I am not able to tell you right now. Okay, so now I am sharing my presentation. I hope it is visible. My presentation is visible. Someone of you, please unmute yourself and reply.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your presentation is
Okay, okay.
visible,
Okay,
sir.
so after this much of background, that what is the significance of topic and why we need to understand the floods, right? What is the importance of forecasting techniques? I have tried to explain you, showing one video and discussing that how it has happened. What is the or what, in what sense the forecasting system, Indian forecasting system, right? That is active and how it is useful, because some of you may feel 62 participants are there, and they may feel that this FDP is just to get the certificate and all this theory. One expert comes, one after another expert comes, he delivers and go away, and we will also go away, right? There won't be any addition of knowledge. No, that is not the case. You learn so many things out of this as FDP, right? And there are number of take home messages from this. The first message, even before starting the lecture, that I have passed on to you is that IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, that is working very well in our country, number one. Number two, visit Indian Meteorological Department site, IMD site. Why? Suppose you are carrying out research, you are carrying out consultancy work, you are planning to take up some research, you want to write research proposal, lots of material you will get it from IMD website, right? There I have seen yesterday the IMD website, and I saw that there is a component of tourism forecast, right? Even suppose your parents are saying, sir, that we wanted to go to Uttarakhand, or we wanted to visit Badrinath, Kedarnath, right? So you can check it from IMD website, and you can check tourism website, tourism forecast, and you can advise your parents that, Papa, this is not time to visit Uttarakhand, right? This is not time to visit Badrinath or Kedarnath, right? So such type of weather forecast, after that of you know that Kedarnath floods, so after that the IMD has started issuing warnings for tourism warnings, right? For tourists, those who are visiting such places which are prone to floods, which are prone to landslides and all that, right? So flood forecasting techniques, we talk about flooding. Already I talked in the beginning of it, that a global challenge, and you will see that as per these two graphs, right? Global deaths per year from natural disasters, floods, that is shown over here, right? And right side slide, if you will see that total economic cost of damages as a result of global floods, and you will see that after 1990, right? After that, what I am saying now, that after 1990 to 2020, you will see that the towering figures, right? That is damages caused due to floods, that has been extensively increased all over the world, right? Or that's why it is written the flooding is a global challenge, right? Again, you will see the effect of global GDP exposed to real floods on average each year, that is 96 billion. And countries are also shown. You can see that India 0.84 billion, that is the global GDP exposed to floods. Then you will see here the again water resources in case of India, absolute value of estimated GDP affected by river floods. Highest high tower you can see, that is for the India, right? And 50 countries account for 80% of population exposed to river flood risk worldwide, right? So you can see here that 4.84, it is higher than that of the Bangladesh, right? Flood risk, right? If we talk about river flood risk, so for riverine floods, the country, our country is at the highest risk. It is a 4.84 annual expected population affected by river floods. That is 4.84. That even more than that of the Bangladesh, right? So the flooding as a whole and flooding, what is the effect of flooding in our country, right? And specifically for riverine floods, this specific slide gives you idea that how it is affecting it. Here is the definition of flood. What we call it is a flood. A flood may be defined as an overflow coming from some streams or from some other body of water to a river. Any overtopping of the natural banks of river or artificial banks, that is also called as flooding. The reason for floods may be excessive rainfall, that what I have already explained, in high intensity, short duration rainfall or melting of snow. So this is also happening in case of Himalayan areas, wherein due to melting of stone, we have seen last year there was flood, and one of the hydropower project was badly affected, and so many people lost life due to it, right? And that is Rishi Ganga and project which happened last year, wherein you will see the first slide, hanging glacier A, you see figure A, you see there was an hanging glacier and there is a base rock below it. This is a hanging glacier. This part you will see there is a hanging glacier. I'll take pointer. Yes, so this is a hanging glacier and this one is the base rock, right? Hanging glaciers, and this one is the base rock. This I am talking about Garhwal, Himachal Pradesh, Rishi Ganga, which has happened in where the glacier burst has occurred, and because of that glacier burst, what has happened? That was an flash flood, and that flash flood has resulted into damages to life of people as well as that of the properties and all that which are in this particular valley. You see the figure B, in which you will see that is Rishi Ganga. This side the Rishi Ganga is coming, okay, and here you see that is this particular portion, that is the formation of lake. This lake busted, right? This lake was busted. So here in figure A you can see the hanging glacier. In figure B you can see that the lake was formed, right? And this is a Rishi Ganga river. This is a round stream. This one is showing this is also Rishi Ganga river, right? And that's they are flowing this way. There is a formation of rank. I think I am showing the arrow wrong. This is going like this. This is going like this, and this Rishi Ganga river here is also again dammed lake. This was also a pond was formed. This is, here was also the what has happened. The pond has formed, right? And because of outburst of this lake, right, again a devastating flash flood happened, right? That is figure 3. You can see that Rishi Ganga projects, and this is a Rishi Ganga river. In figure D you see damaged bridge. This is the damaged bridge part. Here was a bridge which was completely washed away because of the flash flood which has happened due to outbreak of these lakes. These lakes were formed because of melting of ice, and that has resulted into the flash flood into the Rishi Ganga river, which has damaged this bridge. If you will see the figure E, you will find on either side, right, Rishi Ganga river and Dhauli Ganga, the confluence of Rishi Ganga and Dhauli Ganga river at this particular location. And after the flash flood has passed, what happened to the hydropower project? So that you can see in figure F. This is all silt deposited. This is the constructant, and this is the location of tunnel in which there were nearly 60 to 70 people, and the rescue operation was on for a number of days. But I do not know they can able to take out except few people, right? Most of the people, those who were working in the tunnel, right? I think that till date they are missing. The status is that missing, right? So this is the Tapovan project. Yes, Rishi Ganga. Then this is the Dhauli Ganga. Confluence of that, downstream of that, there is a Tapovan hydropower project. And for this Tapovan hydropower project, you can see that how much silt is deposited after the flash flood has passed. And these figures G shows that is the hydropower tunnel, and in which, as I said, that number of people were working in it, and many of them, they are still missing, right? And this is the figure H, which shows that high amount of sediment concentration, that is sedimented deposited after this particular flood. Okay, so this is again the example of the flash flood which has happened last year in what we can say Rishi Ganga, that is a Tapovan project for Himalayas, right? So there is a question also that people are talking about, that what has happened, why you come across, because some time back there was flood in Uttarakhand, then there is a flood in again Tapovan project, and now the floods in Dharamshala and Kangra districts, right? So deforestation is one of the reason, and another one is the climate change is the another reason because of which the frequency of floods has increased in case of Himalayan states, right? So what is flood forecasting? So as you know, flood forecasting, application of forecasted precipitation and stream flow data as input in rainfall runoff and stream flow routing models to forecast flow rates and water levels for periods ranging from a few hours to days ahead of the flood event, right? So my question here is that the flood forecasting, when we talk about the flood forecasting, right? If we can forecast the floods well in advance means if we can forecast flood 8 days in advance, very good. If you forecast it in 5 days in advance, that is good. If the forecast is 24 hours in advance, okay, still it is good, right? But if we can forecast it, if we can forecast the floods well in advance, that results into saving of life as well as damages, right? So flood warning are issued making use of this forecast to make decisions about warnings of flood should be issued to the general public, or whether previous based on our previous experiences, previous warnings should be rescinded or retraced, right? If suppose some warnings are given in the past, if you want to change it depending upon the severity of rainfall, you may be expecting only this part of the area will be inundated, but after you come across that no, the precipitation is more than what they have expected, what will happen? The water level will also go high at a specific location. So that is the meaning of this, by issuing a flood warning and making people aware. And as I said, that you get enough time to move people and their materials, their luggages, etc., from one place to another place. Most feasible option for managing floods, the lead time, right? This is a very important thing. Technically, when we talk about the flood, what we call it is a warning: 1 day ahead, 2 day ahead, 3 day ahead, 4 day ahead, 5 days ahead, right? So that is called as lead time forecasting. And as the lead time increases, 5-day forecast, 4-day forecast, 3-day forecast, 2-day forecast, and 1-day forecast, as the lead time increases, what happens? The probability of occurrence of event or the forecast coming true decreases, right? The 5-day forecast and 1-day forecast, if you compare this 1 day ahead forecast, 1 day ahead forecast is more accurate than that of the 5-day ahead forecast. Then someone of you may ask me a question here, sir, why not the 5-day forecast be that much accurate? Why cannot we do that? Yes, you can do that. But for that, you have to have data, you have to have techniques, right? That what the title of the particular today's this presentation is, flood forecasting technique. So you need such a accurate techniques which can forecast floods before 5 days ahead, right? But when I'm saying 5 days ahead, I think the accuracy of those forecasts, again, of course, it will be good also, but still the accuracy of one day forecast, 1 day ahead forecast is more than that of accuracy of 5 day forecast, right? The flood forecasting is the prerequisite for flood warning, right? So if you want to issue flood warning, what is required? You should have flood forecast, and once you have flood forecast, then you can go for the for issuing warning for the floods. Why? Okay, why we should do flood forecasting should be done, right? So prerequisite for successful mitigation of flood damages, right? If you want to minimize the floods, you need to have good forecasting. Plays vital role in flood management, even if the floods occurred or floods happens, right? So you wanted to take people out of those regions, right? You can plan better, and the management, flood management can be increases flood resistance of the flood affected people, right? And if you have warning and people have come across such type of a warning or such type of a recurrent events, they become resilient for such type of events. So evaluation of vulnerable groups and moving of assets, installation of flood resilience measures, that is sandbags, property flood barriers, temporary flood defense, etc. I am working as a consultant for Uttar Pradesh rivers which are flowing in a central part of Uttar Pradesh, which includes Ghagra, Buri Gandak, Gandak, Gangas, Kosi, right? Where whatever the flood mitigation measures are going on, specifically now they have come to dredge channel as a flood mitigation measure, which reduces the impact of flood in the surrounding areas where you are going for a dredge channel. For a specific river reach of the river reach, what will happen? The flood may pass through that region, causing less damages to the people of surrounding area, right? So for this kind of project I am working, and you will not believe that, hello, yeah. So when I visited, as I said, that resilience, what resilience has come, flood resilience. So how the people become flood resilience, I'm talking about it, right? And there, specifically those who are aware of flood measures in Ganga Plain, right? Ganga Plain means all these rivers which I have just now talked about, that is, let's say, Ghagra. So the width of Ghagra river at certain location is around 3.5 to 4 kilometers, right? Depth is very less because it's a plain. You know that when river starts flowing through the plain areas, what will happen? The depth will be less and width will be more. Okay, so 3.5 to 4 kilometer is the width of the river, and depth is around 5 meter, maximum 5 to 6 meters. Okay, and the bunds which are constructed on the banks of these rivers are approximately 1.5 to 2 kilometers away from the river, on either bank of the river. So first of all, you understand there is a river which is flowing 3.5 to 4 kilometer, right, and having maximum depth of 6 meter. Okay, and on the either bank of the river, to prevent the flood water, the bunds are constructed approximately 1.5 to 2 kilometers away from the bank of the river. But there are villages, there are people who are staying between these two areas. That means the bank of the river and the bund. when I'm talking about the bunds are not small. It is 25 meter in width at the base, and the height is approximately equal to 3-storied building. 3-storied building, I am saying, that is 9 meter, 10 meter, 12 meter. That is the height of the bund, right? So bund width is 25 meter, and the bund height is approximately 9 meters, right? And between the bund and river bank, the people are living their normal life during non-flood periods. But when the flood comes, you know what happens? The small children, people, they start beating the plates, steel plates, right? And start dancing, and they move on the top of the bund, right? They come to know that the flood waters may arrive as the river water start increasing. They realize that now the flood water will enter into their houses. So these people, they start beating the plates, thalis, what we call it as, and they move on the top of the bund. They stay there. They catch hilsa fish. That is the kind of specific fish which is found in this Ganga river plains or Ganga tributaries. They catch these fish, cook it, stay on the bunds, right, for days together. It's an open, just a kind of tent they make, and there they stay for 3-4 days and wait the water to recede, right? So that is called flood resilience. It's very interesting. Some of you, if you are interested in studying the environment, or what we can say socio impact of floods, right, Ganga plains are the best. Number of PhDs one can do into that. If somebody is interested into it, that what is the socio impact of floods, you just visit. I'm saying just visit. Either you take Ghagra plain, you take Ganga plain, or you take Gandak plain, you take Buri Gandak plain, or you take Saryu plains, river basins, right? And study the socio impact of floods, right, on the people. I think you have very good research, which will be useful to the administration also, how to manage floods in these particular areas, or how to manage floods in these particular regions, right? So what are the various components of flood forecasting system? So flood forecasting system have data collection and transmission, then forecasting module, and forecast and warnings, right? Under each module, you can divide into 3 parts, and each part, if we talk each part, the first part is your data collection and transmission. In case of data collection and transmission, that is telemetry, meteorological forecast, hydrometric database, weather radar, satellite imageries. So you can collect the data for building a forecasting model, either from telemetry or meteorological forecast or hydrometric database or weather radar or satellite imageries. This you can use for the construction of what you can say the model data collection, that is for forecasting system or flood forecasting model. The forecasting systems. Then for forecasting module, how you can do this? Suppose you got all this data, the next step is what you can do so that you can predict flood at specific location. So for that, you need to carry out rainfall analysis and future rainfall prediction, rainfall runoff models, flow routing model, hydrodynamic model, and snow melt models, right? So out of this, anyone, suppose you wanted to predict flood at particular location, then what you can use? Rainfall runoff model, that you can use. Suppose you wanted to know that at one specific time, this much amount of water is reaching at this particular location. After how many hours it will reach to 10 kilometers away, or 15 kilometers, or 100 kilometers away. So for that, you can go for routing models, right? So these modules, forecasting modules, they are different forecasting modules which can be used for the purpose of forecasting the flood in terms of its damaging power, in terms of velocity, in terms of discharge which it will be carrying, in terms of time, that what time it will reach from one place to another place. All this you can find in the forecasting model. And what is the use of all this doing? This first part and second part, what is the use of it? Ultimately, we wanted to generate warning, right? Flood warning. So forecast and warning, so dissemination of information to user agencies, issuing warnings, and what you can say, response from the people. Yes, we are moving, or we need this particular help. That will be used using this, right? When we talk of modeling may be of two kinds. One, hydrological modeling, and another one, hydraulic modeling. Right? When we talk of flood forecasting, the flood forecasting model consists of two parts. One, hydrological modeling, and another one, hydraulic modeling. So as the name itself suggests, hydrological modeling or hydrologic modeling means the data related to hydrology are used, right? Then we can call it as a hydrological model, right? So hydrological modeling can be defined as the characterization of real hydrologic features and system by the use of small scale physical models, mathematical models, and computer simulations, right? When we say that hydrological modeling or hydrologic modeling, right, you may feel here, sir, how is it different? Because I say real hydrologic features. Right now the warning is issued for Mumbai, and in Mumbai we have received heavy rainfall on 12th, and today also we are going to receive the heavy rainfall in Mumbai. Okay, but the Surat, the rainfall may not be there, right? Or it may be light rainfall. If you move away in Ahmedabad, probably there is no rainfall. And if you go towards the Kutch, probably there is absolutely zero rainfall, like that. So that's why it is saying that a real hydrologic feature and system, because your input parameters that will vary from place to place. So that's why there are two variation. We will come to that in the next slide. That is spatial variation and temporal variation. Variation with space is called spatial variation, and variation with respect to time, we call it what you can say, temporal variation. So hydrological modeling, in hydrological modeling, what we are trying to do, we are trying to incorporate real hydrologic features and system, and using that we are trying to develop either physical model, mathematical model, or computer simulation, right? So what are the components of hydrologic models for flood forecasting? So it is divided into two parts. Again, catchment processes and spatial discretization, right? How IMD has issued the flood warning? How IMD has issued the flood warning for Himachal Pradesh? Number one, catchment processes. What was the catchment processes? Very, very heavy down power, right? So this catchment processes can be divided into two parts, that is deterministic and stochastic. If it is a deterministic, fixed input, fixed output kind, right, you can have a physically based model, conceptual model, or empirical equations based model, right? This physically, conceptual, or empirical model, they may be distributed, semi-distributed, or lump model, right? So what is lump model? If we consider the basin as a whole and we are trying to do analysis, that is lump model, right? And distributed model means if you are dividing the basin into number of parts. What are these number of parts? It can be HRUs, that is called hydrological response unit. It can be grid based, or it can be subcatchment based, right? It can be subcatchment based. So the distributed model which you are trying to develop, that has HRU based or grid based or subcatchment based, that you have to that you can develop, and based on that the forecasting can be issued. While in case of lump model, it is for entire basin. That's why it is written no distribution, and the check whether the models have performed well or not, or you wanted to check that statistical distributions, etc., that also you can able to check from this particular, what we can say, part, right? So this is all about the components of hydrologic flood forecasting system, right? Hydrologic models for flood forecasting. So how hydrologic models are developed for flood forecasting, that has been given in this specific slide, right? What are the various types of models available? So you just see here: stochastic, deterministic, static, dynamic, and on this axis we take time, so discrete time interval and continuous time interval, right? So you can combine number of processes, that stochastic, then and static, stochastic and dynamic. You can have a discrete time interval also. You can have a continuous time interval models, hydrological models, right? So deterministic, as it is said, every set of variable state is uniquely determined by parameters in the model and by sets of previous states of these variables. Stochastic, randomness is present and variable states are not described by unique values but rather by probability distribution. The static, it is the one which describes relationship that do not change with respect to time, that is static model, while dynamic, it is the one which describes time varying relationship, so temporally varying, right? That is this may be a spatial one and this may be a temporal one. Time varying relationship. The equations of motion of the planets around the sun constitute a dynamic mathematical model of the solar system. When we talk of discrete and continuous, it does not take into account the function of time, usually uses time advanced methods, while continuous model does, right? So for example, which model can be considered as a discrete model? The discrete model can be considered as a single event model designed to simulate individual storm events and have no capabilities for replenishing soil infiltration capacity and other watershed abstractions. So that kind of models are called as a single event models, while the continuous event models, they are function of time, and in case of continuous event model, they are typically represented as ft, and the changes are reflected over continuous time interval. So with respect to time, for example, in case of continuous model, if suppose the rainfall start on 9th of July, right? 9th of July, and it continued up to 13th of July. So when it started on 9th of July, the soil moisture condition may be different than that of 11th of July and that of 13th of July. So you are considering continuously how the soil moisture is varying, because as the soil moisture varies, it will affect the infiltration rate. If it affects the infiltration rate, it will affect the runoff generated due to that particular storm event. Okay, so deterministic hydrological model, they can be characterized as lump, semi-distributed and distributed. In case of lump models, parameters do not vary spatially within the basin and response is evaluated only at the outlet without explicitly accounting for the response of individual subbasins. While parameters do not represent physical features of hydrological processes, model parameters, area average hydrological processes, not applicable to event-based processes, lump model, discharge prediction at outlet only. So if you just wanted to know what that in a specific basin, if this much is runoff, what will be the runoff rainfall, what will be the runoff generated at the outlet? So for those type of models, lump models are useful, right? That there are simple and minimal data requirements, easy to use. And there are, what are the name of such models? For example, SCS curve number based model, IHEC-RUS models, wet balance models, etc. These are the examples of what you can say lump models. Those who are want to take up small area and develop a model that this much is the rainfall in the basin, at the outlet what will be the runoff, they can use these three techniques, right? SCS curve number based models, HMS model, IHEC-RUS models, wet balance model for finding out that specific runoff, right? Semi-distributed model. So parameters are partially allowed to vary in space by dividing the basin into number of smaller basins. Mainly two types: kinematic wave theory models. That is kinematic wave theory model. It is given as HMS model, simplified version of surface flow equations of physically based model. Probability distributed models. Spatial distribution is accounted by using probability distribution of input parameters across the basin. Advantage: structure is more physically based than lump models and less input data is required than that of the distributed model. So HMS, SWMM, that is used for stormwater drainage network, SWM software, or HMS model, top model, SWAT model. So SWMM and HMS 100% free, and right now you can download in your laptop or in your PC, right? And that is very good, very useful. What you can say, semi-distributed model, that is HMS, and HMS is most widely used model by researcher for computing the runoff at one specific location or at number of locations. Then distributed model, parameters are fully allowed to vary in space at a resolution chosen by the user, right? Attempts to incorporate data concerning the spatial distribution of parameters, variation together with the computational algorithms requires large amount of data and get results at any location and time, right? Governing physical processes are model in detail, highest accuracy. When we talk about distributed model, naturally it requires huge data, and with the huge data, the prediction capacity also increases. So highest accuracy in the rainfall runoff modeling if accurate data is available. High computational time, experts are required to carry out the processes. The only disadvantage of this model is that it may require high computational time, right? And due to that, sometime, right, as we have seen that one day ahead flood forecasting is better than that of the 5-day ahead forecasting. If your computational time is of 2 days, right, giving all this data, how accurate it may be, it may not be useful for flood forecasting. So that is the limitation of mathematical modeling. So when you are doing mathematical modeling, you have to take care of this particular parameter also, that is computational time. So Hydrotel, Mike 11, She, Wet Flood, etc. These are the, what you can say, software which can be used for modeling the distributed models, right? And they are accurate also. However, these models are not free. Specifically, Mike 11, Mike C. Now they have come with Mike Flood also, right? That is also one of the good software which is used for modeling, doing modeling using distributed approach. So the explanation for lump, as I said, it is correct, consider as a whole as a one unit, and then you try to find it out what is the contribution of A1, A2, A3, and this is the outlet point. So at this outlet point, how much runoff is generated, that you can calculate or compute using lump model. In case of semi-distributed model, the entire model is divided into 3 parts, and partially lumped and partially distributed, you can do that, right? While in case of fully distributed model, right, what you can do, you have to divide it into number of parts, right? Not, it is not shown over here, but you can prepare HRUs, different HRUs, and are developing those HRUs, that is hydrological response units, and then you can carry out the analysis of this specific region, right? So this fully distributed parameters. Yeah, here it is a grid based. Sorry, this is a fully distributed because they have considered the grid cell, and each grid cell parameters are assigned, and then the computations are done, right? In short, if I wanted to explain fully distributed and a lump model for all A1 area, right? And if you go for fully distributed model for all these grid cell, there is a different infiltration value. That's all, right? In nutshell, if I wanted to say, but it will not vary that much, as you know. But how they differ, that's why I'm saying this A1 may be square kilometers, while this grid size may be 30 meter by 30 meter. This is A1 area is square kilometer. Again, I repeat, and this is only 30 meter by 30 meter. And in terms of lakhs of cells are formed in fully distributed model, and for each cell the computations are carried out, and then the parameters are computed, final parameters are computed. So naturally the accuracy of fully distributed model definitely will be more than that of the lump models, right? So available user faces, which models are used for the analysis purpose, that is HackHMS, HackRUS. These are developed by US Army Corps of Engineers and most popularly and widely used worldwide, right? Because sometimes I interact with students, or sometimes I interact with faculty, and sometimes I interact with the consultant, and they say, sir, we need to buy very costly software, we are helpless, we are in very small place, how we can carry out research, right? Is it possible to carry out research in a remote place where we don't have this data, that data, this software, that software? Friends, these HackHMS and HackRUS globally used software, no need to buy any of the costly software as far as the accuracy is concerned. If you want to go for very high accuracy, then you can go for buying of a specific type of a software, which may be a costly one. But for your research or for your consultancy work, if you wanted to find it out what will be the runoff generated from a specific basin, definitely you can use HackHMS or you can use HackRUS. And these both the software are freely downloadable software, right? So that is developed by US Army Corps of Engineers. Second one, that some of the researchers working in urban planning areas, and they say, sir, we know that this much roads are developed, or network is developed randomly for this particular city, and we don't know what will happen during the monsoon season, and we are trying to convince the authority, and authority is not convinced that no, we will not go and we will not do expenditure for laying of stormwater line. You wanted to analyze it and show them this is the software SWMM, right? Both HackHMS, HackRUS, that is for rainfall runoff modeling. HMS is rainfall runoff modeling. That this is the hydrological parameters that can be computed using this, and hydraulics parameter that is computed using HackRUS software, right? While stormwater drainage design, that you can do using the SWM software, and HackHMS is free, HackRUS is also free, and SWMM is also 100% free software, freely downloadable software, and widely used by researchers and consultants of the world. Okay, somebody may say that, sir, I am staying in remote place and attending this HTTP, right? Later on, I will not get support. I cannot call you every time, and I cannot ask the question, who will solve my question, right? Because when we don't want to do work, we have lots of excuses, sir, this is not there, that is not there. That's friends, there are blogs, right, where you think of a question and you will get answer for these softwares, right? Worldwide experts, these for HackHMS, HackRUS, and SWMM. Even the developer of HackRUS or developer of HackHMS, team of developers of HackHMS or HackRUS, you can simply type a question to them and mail them. You may get reply of it, right? That much user friendly the software have become nowadays. Not of these, but other softwares which you may be working in your areas. You can search for a blog of that specific software and you will get lots of information. Or when you are doing modeling and come across some sort of problem, definitely you can get answer of it, right? So apart from this, if any one of you are working in the area of soft computing techniques, that is neural network or fuzzy logic, this also can be used for the purpose of the flood forecasting. My own papers are there where we did the forecasting using the ANN technique, and I think it is freely downloadable. You just type our name and try to do what you can say, the try to find it out how the modeling has been done carrying out the computing techniques, right? These are the model and the application area. Hack HMS, that's a design of drainage system, quantifying the effect of land use change on flooding. National Weather Services NWS for flood forecasting. Modular modeling system, water resources planning and management. Then University of British Columbia UBC, what flood, that is hydrologic simulation. Rainfall routing modeling, ROB, RORB or WBN, right? That is flood forecasting, drainage design and evaluating the effect of land use change. Hydrologic top model, and C, this is hydrologic analysis model. HBV, that is for flow forecasting. So these are the example of some of the models which are used for the purpose of flood forecasting. Hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. What is the fundamental difference between the hydrologic and hydraulic modeling? So hydrologic models I have discussed a lot, and hydrologic models are good at the description of runoff generation. If you wanted to know that how much amount of flood will be will be arriving at a specific location, right? That you can compute using hydrological models. But at the same time, you wanted to know what will be the water level at this specific place because of this high discharge. That you have to do with the hydraulic models, right? So hydraulic models are more good at the description of runoff routing. A runoff routing means what will be the water level, after what time it will reach from one location to another location, what will be its depth. Suppose if there is a inline structure on a river, right, what will be its effect on the routing process. All these hydrologic study might tell you what the total volumetric flow for a river is based on certain condition, but a hydraulic study might tell you the velocity, depth, flow regime, and turbulence of that flow. So that's what I said, that hydrology says what is the volume, that is runoff, what we call it. And hydraulics, you will get velocity, depth, flow regime, what is the type of it, turbulence of that particular flow. All these parameters you can understand using the hydraulic modeling. So this is the differentiation between hydrologic model and hydraulic model. Many of the things I have already explained, so I will not read it. I'll just go to the most important aspect of, or what is the advancement in forecasting technique. So in case of advancement of forecasting technique, we have remote sensing and GIS application. All are aware of these two terms, that is what is remote sensing and what is geographically information system, and they are used for the forecasting purpose. So what are the basic requirements when we wanted to develop any forecasting system using remote sensing and GIS technique? The first data which is required is DEM. Right, so DEM is called digital elevation model, provide numerical topographic data and frequently used to extract the river network and calculate land surface slopes, flow direction, and flow accumulation. This DEM, probably you have developed a very basic DEM where in your subject of surveying, probably you have done contour modeling or developed contour sheet, right? So this, what this contour shows, this only shows the elevation of a particular area. This digital elevation models, they are they provide numerical topographic data, and this numerical topographic data you can extract using software, river networks, land surface slope, flow direction, flow accumulations, etc. Right? So there are n number of websites from which you can download the digital elevation model of your basin of interest, right? Suppose if I am talking about the Vishwamitri River, so you must know the latitude, longitude of the river reach which you wanted to study, and based on that latitude, longitude of the region, you can visit number of sites and number of data DMs freely available, and you can download it. See, the some of the DM name I have written here: STRM, Satar Radar Topography Mission, Advanced Spaceborne Thermal Emission and Reflection Radiometer, as Aster, and LIDAR is LIDAR, right? That is or SAR. These are all kinds of DMs which you can download from websites of Bhuvan. You can just type Bhuvan, and after getting registered on that site, you can download the DEM from the Bhuvan site. Apart from that, also there are number of sites available worldwide also. From there also you can freely download the DEM of your particularly your region. So first step is you should have DEM of your region. Second step is that you have to process that DEM and try to find it out land use land cover of your area. For this you should know the ArcGIS, and in ArcGIS software you can process the image or the DEM which you have downloaded, and processing that you can find it out. You can extract the various areas, right? Agriculture area, forest area, urban area, right? Then water storage area, etc., etc. That is all possible to identify or process. By processing that DEM, you can get this, right? So that is the second step, land use land cover. Third is precipitation measurement. These precipitation measurements are done by various approaches and various ways, and a lot of data is available for precipitation of your particular region. So you check that based on that area, as per the IS code requirement, how many minimum number of rain gauge stations are required, right? And those rain gauge stations area, you just select the geographical location of that particular rain gauge station, which is in your area for which you wanted to develop the forecasting model, and take the precipitation data, because ultimately that will be input into your hydrological model, and that input will be used again into hydraulic model, right? So the third point is required, that is the precipitation measurements. I have listed on this particular site from where you can get this particular data. You can get from your local data center. If you are talking of the state of Gujarat, and if you are in the Gujarat, then in the Gandhinagar there is a data center, and that data center you can ask, and you can have the precipitation rain gauge station data, as well as that of the what you can say observed gauge station data, if they have recorded it. Apart from that, you can download the gridded data. Nowadays, earlier time we were not able to get the gridded data of less than 1 degree by 1 degree, but now you can get even a half a degree data also, which will increase the number of points in your region where the precipitation data are available. So this data you use for your hydrological model. Then third, inundation mapping. You can do if this much is the discharge and you have got the DEM, basically it's a digital elevation model, and when the water passes to the stream and the water level increases, on how much area it will spread, that flood inundation mapping, that is also possible to do using the remote sensing and GIS technique, right? So determine, yeah. And the most recent application is ensemble technique, right? What we are talking about, the conventional model, that's what we call it, a deterministic model, fixed input, fixed output kind of models. While in case of ensemble models, this is the most recent technique and upcoming techniques. As far as world is concerned, the ensemble modeling and ensemble modeling technique is used considerably, while in case of India, this particular technique is a new technique, right? And very less people are aware about this and working on this particular area, right? Very less, right? And in this ensemble modeling, why the ensemble modeling, again you can say, because in conventional modeling, what will happen? Fixed input, fixed output, right? In case of conventional modeling, you can model one event based on certain fixed initial condition, one initial or two initial conditions, or three initial conditions. While in ensemble model, based on your one initial condition, you can have different scenarios, right? And for these different scenarios, that will give you idea that because of if there is a flood, right, what magnitude of floods are possible. That may be the fixed one in case of deterministic model, which may be underestimated or overestimated when we compare it with the observed data. While in case of ensemble model, you will get more than one scenarios which will be produced because of one specific event of a rainfall. So that is the ensemble technique. I will show you the graph next, then you can able to understand more clearly ensemble flood forecasting, where you can see this is the date, right? This is the observed discharge. The black dotted line is your observed discharge, right? While the ensemble members, you can see all these blue lines are ensemble members, right? So, and again, that can be grouped into low warning level, medium warning level, high warning level, and extreme warning level, which is not possible in case of conventional type of a flood forecasting, where you will get using hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. If you have developed a model, you may get one line, right, either parallel to the observed discharge line, which may be under predicted, or maybe partially under predicted and then over predicted. Like that, for one event, one modeling forecast is possible. While in case of ensemble modeling, depending upon the initial condition, you can have a number of forecasts, right? And these forecasts you can classify as low warning level forecast, medium warning level forecast, high warning level forecast, and that of the extreme water level forecast. And depending upon that, what you can say, when you have more than one forecast available, what will happen? You can think of the measures accordingly, right? Suppose if you look at this low warning, you can think that up to this I have to go. But if you see that, oh, that extreme possibilities are like these also, then you can think that, oh, then in this case, if I wanted to shift the people, right, from the river bank, right, if you look at low warning level, you can ask that up to certain society I can live. But if it is extreme, well, then up to this much of the kilometers away from the river bank, I need to, what we can say, evacuate all the people. So that is not possible in case of that of what we can say conventional sort of modeling. So this is a most recent flood forecasting technique, which is known as ensemble flood forecast. In ensemble prediction system, a set of possible future states of the variable are provided through small changes in the initial condition, different representation of the physical processes, and changes in parameterization schemes and solution schemes. Rather than providing a single deterministic forecast, the EPS offers an ensemble prediction of hydrological variables such as river flow, river level, allowing the identification of most likely scenarios. So somebody will say that itne sare scenarios ki kya zarurat hai? Fine, then it is that you can also talk about the most likely scenario, right? That also you can get it from the ensemble prediction. I am not reading the another bullet points. If anyone is interested in this, they can check it. Lots of literature is available on website also for ensemble flood forecasting, right? When we talk about the flood forecasting in India, statistical and deterministic approach, right, and flood forecasting methods presently used in India, basically statistical correlation using gauge to gauge data. This is the most popularly used. Of course, nowadays we are also having what we can say systems where the models are developed for a specific basing, either using the Mike softwares or that of the HackHMS software. So, and CWC is also what we can say come ahead. IMD has also come ahead with the flood forecasting alerts for 3-day lead time, right? Objective of flood forecasting and warning organizations, that is forecasting, interpretation, dissemination, response, review, and that of the analysis of it, right? So I'm again showing you one Dharampur case study of August 2015 using that remote sensing and GIS technique. How was the water level in the various areas? That has been shown here, right? And the simulation accuracy, these are the pictures you will see that in a ABCD, that is 5th August 2015 from the satellite data. They got the data about the rainfall, showing very heavy rainfall in Mandi district. This is a HackHMS model. You see on a top, my I think pointer is able, you can able to see the pointer which is seen in the brick pink color. This B, where it is B is written, that is the hydrograph, the rainfall started and how the runoff started generating. That hydrograph is shown over here. And because of this particular rainfall, when you have put that in on a DEM of which is down using DEM, you develop the water spread area. and you superimposed on a Google Earth map, you can able to identify which villages will have how much water, up to which depth the water will spread, up to which distance the water will spread from the river bank. At the same time, what will be the depth, probable depth of water, flood water in that particular village or town, that you can identify from this particular model, right? So this is this I have shown you to show application of it, right? Ma'am, Pragna ma'am, do I have 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure. Go ahead.
I think my time is up to 11:30.
Yes, sir. But no problem, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay,
So the as I have explained you the ensemble flood forecasting technique, this is one of the conceptual model which we have developed for the Surat city, which is called urban street level flood monitoring system. Why I am showing this? Because young faculty, young students, and they are very much using the mobile phones and softwares and number of apps, right? So how these apps can be used for the purpose of flood monitoring, that I'm trying to show you. This is a conceptual model which we have developed. Myself and my student Nan Patel have developed this conceptual model for monitoring the flood water level in the strait. Suppose there is a flood in the river Tapi. You know that Surat city is situated on a bank of river Tapi, and the Surat city is also facing recurrent floods. That may be due to natural reason, but most of them is due to releases from the Ukai Dam, which is upstream of the Surat city, 100 kilometers upstream of the Surat city. And because of high releases from the Tapi river, Ukai Dam, there is a recurrent flood in the city of Surat. And in case of 2008, 90% of the city was underwater, and the depth of water was from 1 meter to that of 6 meters. That is 2-storied buildings, they were underwater. 1.5 to 2-storied buildings in certain part of the city, they were completely inundated under the water. So this is the situation in case of what we can say extreme flood in the city of Surat. And therefore we thought, why not we have a flood warning system, flood forecasting system at street level, right? Suppose I am staying in Umrah, right? So what will be the water level with this much of discharge flowing in the city of Surat? I can able to forecast it so that I know that whether I have to stay on a ground floor or I have to shift on the first floor, or shall I have to move out of my house because I have only ground plus 1-story building, right? So that street level monitoring, how the water level is increasing in my street, right? That the flood control authority can know sitting 25 kilometers away from my house. So that kind of system we have developed for the Surat city using IoT approach, right? So this is the about city of Surat location map I have shown. I will not talk about the city of Surat. Yeah, however, I will talk about the 2006 flood, wherein you can see that in 2006 August 5 the outflow was only 26,000 cusack and the water level was 102.2, right? While on August 7, the inflow was 10 lakh cusack, outflow was 8 lakh cusack, and the water level in the dam was 104.22, right? The FRL, full reservoir level, that is around 105.54. So you can see that this particular water level 105.34 or 38, this is nearly approaching the full reservoir. And hence they, because of high inflows on August 7, 10 lakh, it has actually started on August 7 morning 8 o'clock, 8 lakh. Up to 6 August, it was increased from 85,000 to 3 lakhs. But see how suddenly on 7 and 8, the 7 and 8, the inflows was around 8 lakh to 10 lakh. That's what I am saying now. In the beginning of our lecture, this particular lecture, I explained you short duration heavy rainfall. Short duration heavy rainfall. You see, within 48 hours, August 7 and August 8, how much water have been received? This is 8 lakh, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, 9 lakh. How much cubic of water? Right? Inflow is 10 lakh cubic feet per second. I am saying 10 lakh cubic feet per second. Huge amount of water is inflowing into the reservoir. And the water level in the reservoir is almost near full. This 105.33 is almost near full. So what will happen if you will not release the water? The water may overtopple the other embankment portion. And if it overtopples another embankment portion, the dam may get washed away. So there was no other way than release the water. And if they release the water, what magnitude of water they have released? They have released 8 lakh, 8 lakh, 9 lakh, and 8.5 lakh cubic water. While the carrying capacity of river downstream of the dam is only 3 lakh cubic. Some of you may say that, sir, if these levels are high, how it make difference? Yes, it make difference because the river carries only 3 lakh cubic. If you are releasing more water than that of the 3 lakh cubic, what will happen? It will spread over the entire adjoining area. And that has happened exactly on 7 August and 8 August 2006. And as I said, 90% of the city of Surat was underwater from 1 meter to that of the 1.5 to 2-storied building, right? So these are the picture of those days when you can see water level in the river. I mean, water level in the river, as well as what was the situation of city of Surat. You just see here entire, as I said, that 90% of the city was under water, right? So to develop the street level flood forecasting system, I need to do identification of study area, data collection, GIS based mapping, identification of CCTV location, wireless sensor network system, etc. Okay, so what we did, we collected data from Surat city. We have Surat city map, zone map, ward map, 2006 water level map, and public Wi-Fi area in city of Surat. What we did, we data from field, we have find it out. See, in Surat city there was a project called Third Eye, and in Third Eye project, what they have done, they have installed the we have used, and data which is collected of water level and velocity that has been given to this through CCTV camera. We have collected this what we can say data that has been given to microcontroller. Microcontroller leads LCD display as well as that of the power supply. That also we have managed, because usually it happens in case of flood or during flood there is no electricity, right? So you have to choose such a microcontroller which can work during the failure of a power, right? So that microcontroller we have selected, then wireless sensor we have selected, network Zigbee, and that transfer the data to that of the distribution of end users. That is called notification to flood control department for further action, SMS notification to the public. This much is the water level in your area, and that is slowly rising, right? So this is about the big data and data analytics. That is one of the area which is upcoming of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. This is again what will happen due to use of big data. You can see, just you put a touch and you will get the feel of it, or you can develop a graphs and all that. This is all are possible because of the big data application. The wireless sensors are required. The data which is captured, that you have to transfer through wireless sensor to the flood control cell. So that's why this wireless sensor has been used this wireless sensor also can do measure the water level and velocity. How the wireless sensor works, you can see here the solar panel is kept on the top of it, so that the data which are captured to it, that can supply electricity to the equipments which are kept inside this particular box, which transfer the signal from this place to that of the flood control cell or control room, right? This is again a picture which is showing that how the water quality or water level sensors can be installed on a bridge, and how it can be transferred through cloud to that of the monitoring system on that of control room, right? So this is again Arduino Uno connectivity with sensor and LED. This is very cheap. The cost of this is in terms of few hundreds of rupees, which you can buy from the market, and even you can develop the overhead water tank sensor in your house also. Suppose you have to climb steps and go upstairs and see that whether your tank is filled or not, you just buy within 500 rupees. You can develop this system in which you can get the water level in your mobile phone. No need to go upstairs every time. If you have a high-rise building, and in your high-rise building also you can put such type of Arduino sensor in and put the signal in Wi-Fi and get it into your mobile phone, and you can check whether the tank is filled at the 10th floor or not, right? So such type of sensor is possible to be made by an individual, maybe a faculty member or participant interested can look at it into it. Lots of videos are available, lots of material is available that can be used for the purpose of water level monitoring. One of my AmTech student has developed recently the water level monitoring sensor for overhead. CCTV camera are already installed in the city of Surat, that we have used the data transmission, then that data transmission network, wireless network we have used, and that wireless network transfer the data to the control room, and through control room that can be transmitted to the people and public, so that you can know that what is the water level and how fast it is increasing in your area, right? So this is the actual map. You will find here that this is the actual map of the Google map of the city of Surat, and this blue, wherever there is a pin, that is the location of CCTV cameras, right? So we propose to install the sensor at these locations, and this sensor captures records the water level in that particular area and transfer it to that of the control room. So these are the locations which we have identified, because as I said that there are n number of CCTV camera locations in the city of Surat. So ward wise we have collected ward map, we have collected locations of CCTV cameras, and each ward we wanted to know that the critical areas we should have that CCTV camera image we can use to forecast the water level. So this is the again a zone map of the city of Surat, and the pointers, these are the selected CCTV camera locations which we have used for the development of the street level monitoring system. So this is CCTV camera location. This is the Tapi river which is flowing here, right? And a red color which indicates the water level greater than 3 meter, 1.5 to 3 meter, 0.9 to 1.5 meter, and yellow color that is of 0.9 meters. These are the areas, ward names, they are in which zone and what is the water depth. That also we were having. So based on that, we have determined the sensor which can capture the water level and transfer it to that of the control. Right. So this was all about the flood forecasting technique. The subject itself is so wide that I can keep on talking for number of days. But as to generate interest, and if someone of you wants to work in this area, right, can approach me individually or can write me. I have given my email ID also, even for a small thing. Suppose if you have a campus and if you have a flooding problem and you want a solution, develop a solution for it, even then you can approach me. Or if you are staying in a city where the major river is passing nearby and you know that the water level is increasing, and because of that there is a problem in certain areas and you wanted to monitor it, for that also you can write me. Okay, so it can be used right from what we can say the small thing to that of the bigger areas which can be monitored using any of these flood forecasting techniques. So I'm stopping sharing of my presentation. If you have any question, you can ask me. Any questions are there? I'm eager to know. Anyone wants to know anything?
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Sir, in case of the highways, we have a limit of property.
Pardon me. In
If
case of
any people, in case of the highways, we
highways,
have a,
okay.
yeah, in case of the national highways or district road or whatever may be, we have a limit of what is called permanent way. Some name is there. I forgot actually. We have a limit of the boundaries. If
Yeah,
anybody occupy within
yeah,
that area, they can government can demolish the buildings and etc. We
yeah.
have a, such a boundary limit for any of the rivers nearby city.
Yes, yes, yes. There is actually the Supreme Court and NGT has come out now with guidelines that they cannot do construction up to certain limit from either bank of the river, right? And suppose if some development, urban development happens in that region, then definitely the authority takes step or authority take action against them. You cannot
Okay, they don't
occupy
go for immediately demolition.
like we have for roadways and we have for railways, similarly for riverways also. At the same time, the Supreme Court has also given guideline that suppose if TP scheme is developing, and in TP scheme, if there is any water body, small pond, even very small pond, they cannot fill now, right? That all the water bodies, they have to keep as it is.
What is that limit, sir, approximately?
For what?
For the people should not encroach, you know, so for that,
That
what is the
depends
limit
upon
beyond
that depends upon the kind of river, right? Because I think in Surat only we are facing this problem. There is a, as you are saying, that there is a line beyond that people are not required to encroach in the river, but there already some development is there in the city of Surat, which is very close to the river, and that has come as an obstruction for construction of embankments on either bank of the river to protect city from the floods, right? But the locals, they have gone into the court, and I think the matter is still pending in the court. So such type of issues, because I am worried as a professor of water resources engineering, what will happen to the Surat city if in case what has happened in 2006, because after 2006 on either bank of the river, the kilometers of length of embankments worth crores of rupees have been constructed to protect the river, but still some part of the city that is not get protected because they are not able to construct the embankment because of some private properties, right? And there is a case going on. Okay, so if such type of a situation arises, and if during this time period such flood happens again, though the lots crores of rupees has been invested, part of the city may be safe, but it again the part of the city may face the inundation problem.
Fine, sir. Thank you.
See here, someone has wrote, Dr. Shah has wrote that some media people are blaming construction of dam, and because of that the flooding happens, right? People are blaming for development like tunnels, dams has caused this flooding. What is its role? Do you also agree? Please put some light. See, actually, I'm not agreeing with it. The tunnels or dams has caused the flooding, because if you will see the last Dhaulagiri and Rishiganga flash flood, right? Yeah, nothing was there. Neither rainfall was there, nor the vibration of the nor the what we can say the weather was bad, nor the storm was bad. right? So it has a natural phenomenon which has formed, the lake has been formed, and it said that the military people who are working in this area, they said that there are n number of such lake formed on the upstream reaches of upstream heights of Himalayas, right? And they may burst even, right? They may burst like what happened in case of Rishi Ganga, right? And Dolly Ganga. What has happened there? That has happened because of the outburst of the lake. That would have happened even if there is no development, no construction, etc., right? But the construction which is required to be in a planned way, right? That care is required to be taken to avoid such incidences in future. Yes, any other question than this? Few new messages. How are we prepared if there is a failure or dams as disaster caused by it is more compared to any other? Swarupa Sail, very good question. Actually, the government of India, Ministry of Jal Shakti, they have world countrywide for all dams carried out recently the failure analysis, right? That is dam failure analysis, that dam breach analysis. It is called technically dam breach analysis for all the dams, all the major dams of our country, right? And this dam breach analysis is carried out to know the impact of dam failure on the downstream side of the dam, and accordingly they are going to take measures for it, right? However, the phenomenon of failure of dam is very rare, right? Before that, before failing dam, lots of what we can say warning. The system itself gives lot of warning, but if you neglect all the systems, what will happen? Such rare events happens. So as you have asked this question to me, please note down one book, that is No One Has Tongue to Speak. No One Has Tongue to Speak. That is by Utpal Sandesara and Tom Wootton. Utpal Sandesara and Tom Wootton. This particular book has described the only one major earthen dam failure of our country, right? That is Machu Dam in 1979. But you read that book, it is a good book which explains, all engineers who read that book, right? Hardly it is of 450 rupees or so, but it is worth reading. If you read, you will get idea that what's the role of such structures, how it can be maintained and managed, how and which form disaster occurs. In 1979, when this Machu Dam failed, the Morbi city is just downstream of it, hardly 5 kilometers away from it, and there was 2 to 3 storied height water flown over the city, and not less than 25,000 people died in this tragedy, right? So you read it, it's worth reading for any engineers, and you will get idea that how important is forecasting the floods. Yeah, the same thing which I have shown is the 6 to 8 August reservoir inflow in case of Ukai, where 10 lakh cubic of water was flowing into the reservoir, and they were releasing the 8 lakh cubic. In case of 1979 flood of Machu Dam, there was high inflow in the dam, but the spillway which was designed was not capable of disposing of that high inflows, and because of that the dam has filled and the earthen portion has overtoppled, and as overtopping of earthen portion resulted into failure of the dam, right? So you can see the pictures also, and I think there is one Gujarati movie, I do not know whether it is still released or not, but one Gujarati movie is also made on this Machu Dam failure, which is also shows some visuals or some things which shows how the dam has failed and what is its impact on the people who are living on the downstream side of it. Any other question, please? Okay, so thank you very much. You are being a wonderful audience. I'm happy to interact with you, and I hope that whatever 1.5 hours you spent with me, definitely you have gained something out of it, and you will use it in case of your future research, study, or some consultancy, solving some consultancy problem. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Ma'am, I am audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you, sir, for such a nice expert delivered by you. Really, sir, the session is very interactive and fruitful. It was a pleasure to hear you. I also want to thank you, all the participants who are present here for paying your attention and learning. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so shall I leave the meeting now?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Ravi?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay. Pragna ma'am, thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
sir.
participants, I wish
Yes,
you
sir.
good luck
Yes,
and
sir.
see you
Yes, sir.
somewhere in the next conference or somewhere in for consultancy work or somewhere
sir.
in the research. Thank you very much. Bye bye. See you.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Okay,
very
thank you,
much.
sir.
Sir, hello. Am I audible? One announcement is for our participants that we have interchange expert session of Mr. E.H. Pathan sir with Mayur Harsora sir. So today our second session will be conducted by E.H. Pathan sir. Okay, and we are going to share attendance link from today for day 2 during our second or third session. So now all the participants can take a break only for 5 minutes because we have only 5 minutes, and we will meet up again at exactly 12 p.m. for the second session of the day. Thank you.